The GST Council meeting in Chandigarh, the 47 GST Council that met in Chandigarh, has approved a game-changing proposal for SMEs as well as MSMEs. It has done away with the need for small businesses to have register themselves even when they don't have to pay GST. Their turnover is lesser than the threshold. They have to do all of that paperwork, go through all of that bureaucracy, and it's been done away with. You're feeling some deja vu? You might, because this proposal was first mooted right here on ET Now by Meesho, a unicorn that works so closely with small businesses, onboards small businesses, makes them into e-sellers. I felt it was as if the Finance Minister and the GST Council were listening to Vidit Aatrey on ET Now. We'll play you that soundbite and then get you with it live from London.
So if you look at the policy today, if you're not registered with GST, you're not allowed to go online and sell your products. And if you look at small businesses, like about 10% or even less than 10% of all small businesses have GST registration. So practically 90% of small businesses in India are not allowed to sell online at a time where people are not going out and buying products offline, right? So I would say that is a very, very big limiting factor. We see this on our platform, like a very small percentage of small businesses who come up and register and say, I want to sell on your platform, are able to do so because they don't have GST registration.
The 47th GST Council meeting concluded in Chandigarh, and there's been a game-changing proposal that has gone through, one that's going to have a huge impact on SMEs as well as MSMEs. It's actually a week that has been dedicated to them with the MSME Day earlier on. It's a proposal that you might have first heard right here on ET Now. It was flagged off actually by the founder CEO of Meesho, Vidit Aatrey, ahead of budget, talking about a big issue that was nagging the SMEs as well as e-sellers. It's as if the finance minister and the state finance ministers were all listening to that conversation that we had in late January. Vidit Aatrey now joining us all the way from London. Vidit, I felt like when the announcement came through that were they watching us in late January, because this was a big issue that you had flagged off, is to do with the registrations that are needed by SMEs to sell online.
Yes, Nayantara, first of all, good to speak to you again. I think I'm super excited. We have been passionate about this particular problem for years now, communicating in all possible forums, including our conversation. And I'm sure like our conversation was super effective in sending across the message to everyone concerned about this problem. But we are very, very excited. So people who don't remember this, I'll maybe highlight the importance of this. So in India, about 10% of all small businesses have a GST registration. And until now, only sellers who had a GST registration were allowed to sell online, right? Which means the small businesses during the entire pandemic, when the offline sales were like very much affected, could not go online and sell their products to customers and keep food on their table. But I think this particular change, which is going to come in the GST policy for offline and online sellers, is going to be a game changer. I think it will allow the smallest of businesses in India to come online and become successful. And we are very, very happy and excited that we have an opportunity to be a catalyst in this coming revolution.
Can you explain to our viewers why this ease in doing business is going to be a game changer?
Yes. So let me start with some numbers again, right? So in India, there are about 63 million MSMEs in total. Like by most estimates, government has also released these numbers. And not more than like 7 to 10 million across have any form of GST registration. And about 10% have a non-composite GST registration. There are different types of GST registration as well. Until now, only these 10% of all small businesses, 10% of the 63 million could go online and start to sell their products on any marketplace or on any e-commerce platform. Now, all of these businesses will be allowed to come online and sell the way they have been selling in the offline world, right? So let me give some examples so people connect with this. Now, the Kirana store that you see around you, like that small Kirana shop that people sometimes run out of their houses, they generally don't have GST registrations. Now they'll be allowed to come and list their products on e-commerce platforms like ours and sell products to these consumers across states and across the country, which was not possible earlier. Like my mother who knits sweater at home, she will have an opportunity to like sell her sweaters through a platform like Meesho, and people can buy it, right? Lot of homemaker entrepreneurs who make stuff at home, who have products at home, who run boutiques at home, have products across all possible categories, until now were not allowed to sell online because they usually don't get GST registration because of all the hassle that come with it. Now, all of them will have an opportunity to become an entrepreneur online and like access the market that online offers. Like, unfortunately, if in the future we have another lockdown coming because of the pandemic, their business will not be affected. They'll be able to like continue to earn income by selling products to consumers online. I think that's why this is so powerful. Imagine how many stories like this we'll be able to unlock in the country, where like someone decides to start a business, has no capital, has no resources, and on day one will be able to put their products online and sell it to anyone, which was not possible before. I think that's why this is so powerful. And I think we'll just get started. Next 5 years from now, the small business economy in India is going to look very different. And I believe at that point in time, we'll be looking back and we will say this regulation change was the biggest inflection point in making it happen.
Is this also going to be of significant importance, besides, of course, maybe having better mix of e-sellers, them having more time on their hands as opposed to, bureaucracy, paperwork, etc. What will be the impact on platform companies like yours, on the e-commerce players?
Yes. So as of today, if 100 people come and sign up on Meesho and say they want to sell products on the Meesho platform, we have to say no to about 70% of them. So 70% say they don't have GST registration. And we say, I'm sorry, we can't let you sell on the platform on Meesho. As soon as this is allowed, we'll be able to allow all 100 people who come and try to sign up on the platform. So I think the biggest change that's going to happen is we'll be opening up the gates to the smallest of businesses across the country. And as I said, there will be women entrepreneurs running businesses from home. There'll be kirana shops. There'll be the smallest of shops that you can imagine. Another thing, but by the way, that I believe, and that's why our mission does not talk about making 60 million small businesses successful online. Our mission has always been about making 100 million small businesses in India successful online, is it will make it even easier for individuals to start up companies now. Until now, if you wanted to start a business, if you don't have a GST registration, you can't do it online. And if you don't get a shop offline, you can't start it offline. Now, suddenly the cost of starting up a business has gone to almost zero. So you are a college student, want to do something on the side, you'll be able to start it up without spending anything because you don't need a GST registration. So I also feel it is going to reduce the barriers for upcoming entrepreneurs in the country of all ages, all classes, to start up their business without spending anything and have a chance of creating or achieving their dreams that they could not before.
So I just want to clarify this for all of our viewers. A company like Meesho, pioneering e-commerce primarily in the smaller towns outside of the big cities, pioneering e-sellers that began primarily being women, had to say no to 70% e-sellers for being on the platform. So now there are no restrictions, right?
Yes. After this regulation, there'll be no restrictions. We'll be able to allow all 100 of them to come and sell on the platform. Until now, only 30 of them were allowed to sell online. So I think that's a big unlock, very big unlock.
Vidit, we're also talking at a time when there is so much uncertainty, right? Whether you've got the rupee flirting with 80 against the dollar. We've all seen what's happening with the stock market, so India is an outperformer. It's a season of markdowns. It's a season of layoffs. Many call it the winter. Having said that, can you first tell us what has happened to consumerism in the smaller towns?
I think from the data that we see right now, a lot of that impact hasn't gone to them yet. I think few things which are more direct, like fuel prices. So petrol prices, everyone knows, has gone up. So it has affected their budget yet. But some of the indirect things that take time to get to them, which is prices of the product that they buy on a daily basis is slightly going up, and it will take time to get there. Like polyester is a big raw material in some of the products that we sell on the platform. It is a petrol byproduct, so its prices are going up. And some of the products that are getting manufactured today are more expensive than what were getting manufactured like 6-9 months ago. So some of these prices will be felt by the customer in some time. Second thing is, even some of the other raw materials like cotton, etc., have spiked up quite a lot. Again, it's a like very, very important raw material in some of the products we sell. Some of the price increase was not reflected in the products that people are buying yet, but it will start to happen in a few months. So what I will say is most of the impact is yet to come. Most of the impact is yet to come. And at this point in time, I think it's a very critical juncture why we feel that our mission is so important for India, right? Like our platform has always been about making affordable products accessible to Bharat, which is 1 billion consumers. And when inflation will rise, which is going to happen in the next 6 to 9 months, inflation will rise. We'll be able to provide a channel where people will be able to buy these products efficiently and much more affordably than what they could do earlier in the offline world or in other channels, right? We will be the deflationary force across the country because we have built the most efficient channel for people to buy products across categories. Like no one provides a more affordable product than small businesses in the country, right? So at this point in time, mostly consumers like go one level down. They downgrade the kind of products they want. If they're buying brand, they go and buy from small businesses. So it's a very large opportunity for all the small businesses who are selling on a platform. And we want to make sure that we really make this opportunity large for them. So we are investing a lot in technology, building the right tools. So when consumers start to buy a lot more from small businesses than they are doing today, our small businesses are able to capture that opportunity and grow their business.
So that's how you're going to improve the business metric. And you're saying the pressure on the wallet from the red hot inflation is yet to see the impact on consumerism. But with it, you know, what we've also seen is, and you've had to do it at Meesho too, others are doing it. And it's sad. It's always sad to hear about mass layoffs. What you have done are the, you know, firing employees, but you've also sent out a message saying it cannot be growth at any cost. More than ever before, we need to look at the bottom line. Have you slowed down your growth plans? What kind of back-end tinkering are you doing? Are you pivoting models? What's going on?
Yes, so I think it's absolutely correct. I think we've been impacted like everyone else in terms of the new climate. We have changed our goals. So earlier, we had taken much more aggressive growth goals for the year. It's not anymore. And we've started to focus a lot on profitable growth, which is the right thing to do for the long term now. I think the times are not the same as we had in 2021. So we've made those changes and we are seeing everyone in the ecosystem are making those changes, right? So it's the right thing to do at this point in time. I will say the impact of some of this macro stuff, which is inflation, etc., is going to be less of a factor for the ecosystem. And the reason I say that is most of tech companies grow by moving consumers from offline to online rather than the macro growth, right? That is in the ecosystem. So that thing is not going to change because if you look at all companies, including ours, e-commerce in India is still 5 to 6% of the entire retail in India, right? So the macro is not going to affect our growth as much. So I believe all the tech companies will continue to have very healthy growth irrespective of inflation or anything else. But definitely cost of capital has gone up, which means that the way we run our business has to change. And our goals have changed from like growing aggressively only, which was the goal last year, to now profitably growing from here. And I think we've made those changes, including everyone else.
Like I said, it's always tragic when you see an ecosystem going down. And, you know, it's also going down because the era of easy money is over. Central banks around the world have moved from quantitative easing to quantitative tightening. I understand. There is now, you know, it's also because of a global setting. But there is anger back home, right? Among those seeking jobs, among employees, those who are, you know, new to the ecosystem as well, and everybody. Why are those backed by such large VC funding going in for the first easy way of cutting costs, and that is by layoffs?
Yeah, so I will, by the way, say that if you see in the US, you see the same thing happening. And you will see that happening in private companies as well as public companies, because some of these public companies become so large that the macro impact also starts to affect their growth and so on. So I would first of all say that don't single out only the startup ecosystem in India. It's a very global thing. It's happening everywhere. Cost of capital going up, no one anticipated. Everyone was building up their teams for growth. And suddenly you realize that the same goals won't work anymore, right? So it's the right thing to do. But you're absolutely right. Like, these are people that we care about and so on. By the way, I also feel that one thing that has happened right this time is everyone has taken these steps with a lot of compassion, helping out everyone who's been impacted in finding the next job, extending insurance as long as possible, and so on. So people have been taken care of, or people are compassionate about all of these folks that were there in these companies. And obviously, it's something that no one anticipated. It's a sad thing for the ecosystem, but I also believe that's the right thing to do at this point in time. Because sometimes you delay it because it's not the most popular thing to do. And by the time you take a measure, it's already too late. So whenever you have to do it as soon as possible and be done with it.
It's Vidit Aatrey of Meesho being so candid for all of you, ladies and gentlemen. This is what's happening in the ecosystem. But of course, there's also been some good news that has come in for SMEs and MSMEs, as highlighted by Vidit. Now, e-commerce platforms no longer have to say no to e-sellers, however small they are. There will be no distinction, and that's because of that crucial decision taken by the 47th GST Council that met in Chandigarh. With that, Vidit, thank you for giving us time today. I know you have a lot to do in London. Many thanks. Appreciate you giving it to ET Now.
Thank you, Nayantara.